Good morning, everyone. It's been a while since I made a video. Just wanted to put something out there. Today I'm going to talk about how to buy land from a private owner in Nigeria without knowing the size of the land. You are going to have people who are looking to sell their land. It could be a personal land or private land. This usually happens, like this particular topic that I'm talking about, almost always applies to land in rural areas of Nigeria. In small towns, in the village. You may have somebody who is strapped for cash and is just looking at offloading some plots of land, and they're looking for a buyer, but they don't necessarily have the size. Usually in rural Nigeria, rural parts of the country, the way that they mark their lands is through like landmarks. They're gonna tell you, okay, from this tree to that tree, or from this shrub to that shrub, or this bush to that bush, this is the boundary. You're gonna get that. And that's okay. That's the way that they usually mark boundaries traditionally. But you do not want to get caught up in that traditional boundaries. You want to modernize your boundaries. You want to know, and I'm speaking from experience because I've purchased land before without knowing the size of the land, only to discover that it's a lot smaller than I had anticipated. But it's okay because this particular land happened to be on the main road. So that in and of itself is okay for me. It increases the value of the land, in my opinion. But in some cases, you're gonna have lands that are not necessarily close to the road. And even if they are, the owner may not know the size of the land. And as mentioned earlier, they usually mark it based on just those landmarks that I mentioned. So to tip the scale in your favor, so you know the exact, and then they'll tell you, okay, this is what I want. This is the amount that I want for the land. And that's okay. I mean, they can tell you whatever price that they want. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to pay that price. But it's good to get a ballpark figure of, okay, how much are you asking for this piece of property that you're looking to sell? So what you want to do is, first and foremost, you have to hire a surveyor, a land surveyor. That's the first thing that you're gonna do, is hire a land surveyor. And you're going to connect this land surveyor with the seller of the land. Try as much as possible to not deal with middlemen. The middleman may accompany the seller, but what you need to do is deal directly with the seller. And if you are in a position to have a project manager or someone that you 100% trust, and now I'm talking to people who are in the diaspora like myself. I'm based in the US. I have investments in Nigeria, and I travel to Nigeria at least once a year. Opportunities are going to rise. Opportunities are going to come up for you, for people looking to sell land and property, or farmlands, or just residential, commercial lands. And hopefully you are in a position to purchase those properties, but you gotta be prepared. So you're gonna have to hire a surveyor. Okay, and what that surveyor is going to do for you is he's going to meet up with the seller, and the surveyor is going to do what is called a preliminary land sketch. Okay? What that means is the surveyor is going to take their instrument with them, their surveying instrument with them, to the property, and they, based on the direction of or the guidance of the actual seller, not the middle person, the actual owner of the land, they are going to sketch out and map out the boundaries of the land, all lands, and they're going to come up with a preliminary survey for you that connects all the boundary points. This is where all the beacons is going to go. Now, you're not going to get that on the preliminary sketch. It's only going to give you an estimate, a close estimation of the size of the land. This is going to allow you to then make an offer to purchase the property if you're still interested. Do not buy land sight unseen from private sellers without knowing. I've done it. And the reason I like to share these videos is because 99% of my content is as a result of personal experience. What I've gotten right, what I've gotten wrong, and what I could have improved on or done better. So I am providing this content, this informational, insightful content for you guys so you don't make the same decisions that I made, and to also help you use this information to help you make better decisions than I did. Now, I don't make a lot of poor mistakes. Like, I don't make a lot of poor decisions, but in some cases, I've done a thing or two that I felt, oh man, that could have been done a little bit differently. But for the most part, I tend to make sound decisions when it comes to investing in Nigeria. And one of the things that have saved me through the years is I always hire professionals. I always seek the counsel of professionals before I make decisions. Now, the surveyor is going to come back to you and give you an estimate of the size. Again, remember, it's not an accurate, it's just an estimate. Okay? So let's just say they come back with, all right, we've done this preliminary sketch. Based on the information that we have, and we are looking at approximately a hectare of land, give or take. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. But at least you have a numeric information. You have that numeric information to say, okay, a hectare is 10,000 square meters. All right. Maybe the land is a little bit below or a little bit above, but at least you have that numeric information to then use that information to make an offer for the property. Now, once that is done, you always have to tip. You can't get emotional when it comes to investing. You always want to tip the scale in your favor. You are a developer. You are an investor. You are not in the business of overpaying for properties. You always want to, I'm not necessarily saying you're in the business of underpaying either, but you want to pay a fair market price. Fair market price. Keyword, fair market price. because you don't want to rip off sellers, and they don't want to rip you off either. So it's got to be a deal that works for both, depending on the situation. Now, you may have sellers that are so desperately in need of money that they will sell way below the market price, and that's okay. You are a shark. You're an investor. You don't get emotional. You pay what they're willing to accept. But you really have to get all of the resources that you have tipped in your favor so you can make an informed decision on the offer that you're going to be offering for this piece of property. But you're going to need that size estimate, the estimate of the size of that property. You're going to need that. Now, remember, when you make that offer, you will then deduct the cost because you still have to do a survey. So you're gonna take that information to the seller and say, okay, this land that you're selling, we are estimating that it's going to be XYZ square meters, and this is what we are going to offer you for that. Then you begin the negotiating process. But you remember, the preliminary sketch is just to give you an idea of the size of the land. Once you've finalized the deal, you may then send the same surveyor to do an actual survey of the property. That's when they're gonna go in again with their instruments, but this time they're gonna take their beacon stones. This is the concrete beacon markers, where they're gonna write the numbers on that beacon stone to identify the beacon points of that land. Now, once that final survey is done, two things is gonna happen. You are either gonna get more land, or you're gonna get a little bit of less land. But either way, it's going to be close to that estimate, the preliminary sketch that the surveyor made for you. Okay? So that is how you go about it. And then you got to make sure that you register that land with the appropriate land registration agency in the state that you in the state. Land is mostly statewide, state and not federal. That is what I did, and I've instructed my team that going forward, if someone has land to sell and they don't know the size of it, we have to do our due diligence first. We have a surveyor on our team that works with me, and we'll dispatch that surveyor, go ahead and go and get us an idea of how big this land is, do a preliminary sketch of the property, let us know so we can visually see the boundaries of the land, and then we will use that information to begin the negotiating process with the seller. So that is how you go about it. Documentation is important. You gotta get your survey, the survey documentation, super important. Registering the land with the state. The number one thing that you have to have that documentation. So hopefully this helps you make an informed decision when buying land where the seller doesn't necessarily know the size of the land. And remember, as you're negotiating, make sure that you are deducting your expenses. That's going to be a part of the negotiating process. So if you pay the surveyor $200,000, sorry, not dollars, 200,000 naira to do a full survey, you got to factor that cost into your offer. And again, remember, do not get emotional. You can have empathy. There's nothing wrong with empathy. But when it comes to business decisions, Don't get emotional, and don't pay full price. All right, hope that helps, guys. If you like this video, be sure to like and share. I'm going to include the link to the Mbariket Network WhatsApp group. This is an interactive group or network that I created for Nigerians in the diaspora looking to invest in Nigeria. This is where you can connect with local service providers in the country. If you are abroad, you can connect with project managers. You can connect with real estate agents. You name it. So I'm going to add that link to the WhatsApp group. I'm sorry, the link of the WhatsApp group onto this video. Be sure to join. The WhatsApp group is not social media. I don't allow any non-related discussions or topic to be on that group. So this is just a professional group for people who are looking for information on how to penetrate the Nigerian market and invest. Now is the time. I tell people all the time, especially people in the diaspora, there is never a better time than now to invest in Nigeria. As of today, USD is close to 1,700 Naira. Okay? All the best, guys. I will talk to you all later. Like, share, comment. Hope you enjoyed this video. Rich Mbariket. Take care.